Hello everyone and welcome back to Fight Scene Analysis. So today we are going to be looking at the fight scene between Hector and Achilles in the movie Troy. Let's go. Okay, so Achilles thrusts his spear straight down in the ground. In reality, this would dull the spear a lot, especially considering that it's bronze. So in reality, he shouldn't have done this at all. If he wants to get his hand free to use it for something else, what he should have done is just take his spear and hold it in the same hand as the shield. And then he removes his helmet. Of course, in reality, you would never remove your helmet. The first metal protection you want on you is a helmet because the head is the most important part of your body to protect. So in reality, he would definitely not do this. There is a reason why he does this, and that is because Hector previously in the movie killed Patroclus thinking it was Achilles, and now Achilles removes his helmet to show that he is actually Achilles and not someone else. So of course they have an excuse here, but in reality he should not have removed it. And if he wanted to show his face, he could just have lifted off his helmet, shown that it was actually Achilles, and then just put back on his helmet. That would have been way more realistic. Of course, you could say that it's Achilles. Theoretically, the only place he can get killed is on the heel, so if that's the case, he doesn't need a helmet. But this doesn't really seem to be the case in the movie, so he should just have kept his helmet on in any case. And then we have Hector, who also removes his helmet. Now, of course, he does this to fight Achilles in equal terms, but definitely not something he would have done in reality. In reality, both of them would have kept their helmets on. Okay, so Achilles runs up to Hector in a sort of zigzag motion, as you can see here. Sure, I mean, there isn't really any purpose to it, except that it might confuse Hector and make him not really know where he's going to be attacked. So, I mean, yeah, sure, you can do that. Okay, and then he thrusts at Hector. So, while he's thrusting, I guess he's thrusting like this, and he's leaving himself very open with his shield. He doesn't use his shield to protect himself while he's attacking. And that's a problem because he's actually leaving himself very open, and Hector could, from the position he is in it now, pretty easily just take his own spear and thrust at Achilles and potentially hit him and kill him. And then we have Hector, who ducks away. I mean, ducking away works, however, he has a shield that he can use. He could literally just have put up his shield, parried that attack, thrusted with his own spear, and potentially killed Achilles. That's what he should have done. Okay, and then we have Achilles, who goes for a sort of shield bash and pushes away Hector. Sure, again, Hector should have killed him with a thrust, but he didn't do that. Okay, and then we have Achilles, who just, jogs away. Not really any problem in doing that, but it's a little bit risky considering you're turning your back to your opponent, and your opponent could potentially be able to hit you in the back. So a little bit risky. Of course, we can't really see the distance here because of the camera angles, but not anything particularly wrong with it. Okay, and then he comes in running for yet another attack at Hector, and jumps up to do an attack. So now he basically does a jumping attack. There isn't really any purpose in doing a jumping attack because you don't really get any more force in your attack, because when you're doing a normal attack, you have your feet planted on the ground that can actually give some support to the blow and allow you to push more force into your blow. When you're jumping, your feet are not planted on the ground, therefore part of the force that you're attacking with is going to go back through your body and push yourself back away. So you don't really get a lot more force in the attack, and, well, when he's jumping, he cannot dodge in any way. So if Hector goes for a thrust now and manages to get past Achilles' shield, he would potentially kill him because Achilles cannot dodge. And of course Achilles leaving himself pretty open. He has his shield like to the side like this. He should hold it in front of him like this. Okay, so he thrusts down straight at Hector's shield. If you take a bronze spear and thrust with a heavy strike into a bronze shield, you're probably just going to roll the tip off your spear. And Hector, well, he parried the attack with his shield, which is good. However, he did not attack. And in reality, when you're fighting with both a shield and a sword, you want to use both of them at the same time. And when you're parrying an attack, you're also putting your spear or your sword, whatever weapon you're using, forward at the same time to do an attack at the same time and hit your opponent. And Achilles was open, so Hector should just have gone for a thrust and potentially killed him, but he didn't. Okay, so Achilles going for a pretty low thrust. Again, he's leaving himself pretty much open. He should have held his shield in front of him. He's holding it on his side. And then we have Hector, who is basically completely open. He has his shield to the side and his spear towards the ground, which is kind of absurd because he wants, in reality, he would want to have it towards the opponent to be able to do an attack. Okay, so Hector takes his shield and pins Achilles' spear down to the ground. Okay, so that is actually a really good parry to parry a spear because you're actually blocking the spear into the ground. But then, well, why didn't he do anything with his spear? He should have went for an attack straight at Achilles because Achilles is basically completely open. He has his shield to the side and should have held his shield in front of him to prevent Hector from hitting him. Because now Hector can pretty easily hit him and should have done that. Okay, so Hector kind of raises up his shield, at the same time uses his own spear to push up Achilles' Achilles' spear. Sure, again, he should just have tried to pin Achilles' spear into the ground and attacked him, but he didn't do that. And now, when he's retreating his shield, he's leaving himself extremely open. Now he basically has his shield behind him. There's no reason for that. If he wouldn't even have need to lift his shield really. He could just have lifted like 10 centimeters and then use a spear to pull it away. So not really any purpose in pulling your shield that far away, but he does that. Okay, and then we have Achilles, who is now in an overhand grip. So basically he was using his spear like this previously, now he uses like this. So there's nothing wrong in using that grip. However, I'm just wondering how he changed grip so fast, because he had his spear pinned. How do you change it that fast? In reality, what probably happened was just that when they changed clip, they just had the actor change their grip on the spear, and he wouldn't have time to do it in reality. Anyways, he thrusts at Hector, still with his shield to his side. Again, should have held his shield in front of him, but it doesn't do that. And then we have Hector, who has his shield now back again to his side. Again, he also should have held it in front of him, but he now parries it basically with his spear. Parries attack with his spear. If he had his shield in front of him, he could have parried with the shield and went for a thrust with his own spear and potentially killed Achilles. There are just tons of time until now where Hector could have killed Achilles pretty easily. So Hector is basically fighting extremely defensively here, which is, kind of understandable. You can fight defensively, that works perfectly fine. However, if you never attack your opponent, you can never hit him, and therefore you can never win. So, yes, fighting defensively, trying to block the attacks, but you still have to do some attacks of your own to actually be able to kill your opponent. And Achilles is just opened so many times here that Hector had tons of chances of actually killing him if he just attacked. So, Achilles goes for yet another attack, now with his shield behind him. Again, he should have held his shield in front of him. Thrusts straight into Hector's shield, So good, Hector parried with his shield. However, he has his spear upwards. He should have held it towards Achilles to be able to thrust him and actually kill him. Again, that attack would probably have damaged more or less Achilles' spear, but it's a movie and weapons never get broken, apparently. Achilles is still holding his shield behind him, which is stupid, and Hector can kill him at any moment. Okay, then he goes... So, the problem with Hector's parry is that basically, if you see here, instead of just holding his shield in front of him, he's putting it to the side to kind of pull away Achilles' attack. Now, trying to get away Achilles' attack is not a bad thing, but he's leaving himself way too open, and now Achilles can pretty easily just go for a thrust and actually kill him. Of course, Hector can also go for a thrust at Achilles and kill him. That would be very easy considering how open Achilles is, but he's not doing it. Okay, so now Hector ducks the next attack. Yes, nothing particularly wrong in that. Again, he should have used his shield and tried to thrust with his spear, but he's not doing it. And then he goes for kind of a slash with his spear, which is kind of weird. He should just have held his spear in front of him and thrusted. But if you are in a position where your spear is to the side, just using it to go for swing just to get your opponent further away is not too bad. And this is actually the first of Hector's attack, and we are 27 seconds into the fight scene. Hector is acting way too defensively and should have attacked way more. So anyways, Achilles ducks that attack. Again, he could just have lifted his shield and parried it and then went for a thrust, but he doesn't do that. Okay, so after that swing, he tries to like run to the side. Okay. And then we have Achilles, who goes for a thrust at Hector's heel. Yes, sure. Like, should have been the opposite. If Hector tried to go for a thrust at Achilles' heel, that would have been logic. But now Achilles tries to go for a thrust at Hector's heel, which is very strange. He should have tried to go higher, but it isn't too bad. Like, sure, you can go for the heel if you want to. Okay, again, now he's way too open, and Hector does seem to go for thrust, which is good. However, he too should hold his shield more in front of him. Okay, so Hector comes in for thrust, and Achilles just pushes it up with his shield. Now, that's not a bad parry. However, if you look straight here, Achilles has not yet put up his shield to parry the attack, and we can see here that the spear is way too high up to even be able to hit Achilles. And why do you thrust that high up if you can't even hit him? Like, very strange attack. And then he pushes it up and comes in for thrust. Now, pushing it up, yes, sure. However, why do you pull your shield back so much? Like, if I take this shield here, he could have just, if he holds it like this, just pulled up here, just to be able to see here, and went for thrust. But he doesn't need to retreat his shield any more than this. Now he retreats it back there. What's the purpose of doing that? You can literally just keep it here, and then you still are protected from any incoming blows from anywhere else. Okay, and he thrusts toward Hector, and Hector dodges backwards. Again, should have used his shield instead. Okay, that's very bad. He uses his spear to slap away Achilles' spear. Why didn't he use his shield? Like, his shield is just under the spear. Just take it and use the shield to pull away Achilles' spear. That would be good. Now use his spear. Like, if you do that, then yes, you have gotten Achilles' spear away of the fight. However, your spear is also away, so neither of you have any functioning weapon. What's the purpose of doing that? Okay, so from this position, what would have been logic is kind of if Hector used the butt of his spear to thrust Achilles in the face. That could work, but we'll see what he does. Okay, so Achilles goes for a shield bash. Achilles, you're holding your spear behind you. Try to get your spear in front of you again. But he's not doing that. And then we have Hector, who ducks under. Again, should have used his shield, but apparently these characters think that shield don't exist. Okay, so now so Hector retreats his spear here and goes for a thrust. Now what is he thrusting at? Like, look at here is Hector's spear and Achilles over here. Like, what is he trying to hit? And then we have Achilles, who pushes up his shield to parry that attack. However, there's just no purpose in parrying that attack because he wouldn't have hit him at all. Yeah, very strange. And of course, when he's attacking, Hector is just pulling his shield way too far back, which he shouldn't have done. Achilles, while parrying that spear, should have gone for an attack with his own spear straight at Hector. We'll see what he does. He does. That's good. Of course, since Hector had his shield so far back, well, he couldn't use his shield to parry. Should have held your shield in front of you to be able to parry that attack. But, yeah, sure. Okay, so now he used his shield to push up the spear. I wouldn't say that necessary because the point of the spear, so the dangerous part of the spear, is already behind you. So at this point you can just charge in at Achilles. But, okay. So he kind of pushes it up. He pushes up Achilles' spear, and Achilles goes into this weird position. Can someone explain why he goes into this position? So basically, if I take this shield here, which is pretty much similar to the one he has because of this cutout, he basically goes into a position like this, where he has his spear behind his head. There's no purpose in doing that. It's a very awkward position, and no reason to go into that position, because if I just take this down, if you have your sword or your spear behind here, well, you have no range. If you have it in front of your face, then you have range. So right now, the only thing he does is to prevent himself from having any range. However, I still want to say that, okay, at least he's holding his shield in front of him, which is kind of good. Okay, then he advances towards Hector. Hector retreats with his weapons down. Put up your weapon to be able to fight. And now Hector has advantage because he has the capacity to push his arm forward to actually get some range, which Achilles does not. So very strange that he tries to fight defensively now is the time to actually try to kill Achilles, but he's not doing it. Okay, so Achilles goes for a thrust. Hector brings up his shield to slap away the attack. Again, should have held it in front of him, and he would just have tilted up his shield, something like that, to deflect the blow, and then could have went on in for thrust of his own. Okay, so he slaps away Achilles' spear, and then Achilles comes in for a wide swing with his spear. Like, doing a swing with a spear is possible in certain situations if you have your spear far down and you need to get it up fast, and then you just do a swing to get your opponent away. That works. And you do have some spears that are called hewing spears that have extra long heads for you to be able to do some kind of slashing damage with them, but it's mainly just for draw. It's not actually for wide swings. This, if he hit, would not really do any damage. And he would probably break his spear right now by hitting at Hector's shield. And then we have Hector. He has parried Achilles' spear. Now he can just charge in and use his own spear to attack Achilles because Achilles is completely open. He doesn't. Achilles go for another thrust. And Hector kind of jams it in there. Okay, sure, that could work. Yes. And then Achilles comes in for shield bash and breaks Hector's spear. Breaking the shaft of spear is extremely difficult because it's made of hardwood, the hardest wood you can find. It's actually really thick, etc. Very hard to break a spear shaft, so this would probably not work. Of course, if you can break the shaft of his spear, go ahead and do it. That's good for you, but it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work in reality. Okay, so and then he kind of just retreats to the side. Now just look at his spearhead here, like it's just bending on the shield. Yeah, definitely not real metal. That's just a sort of foam, not real bronze. Okay, so Hector kind of tries to push him away, but since Achilles went to the side doesn't work. Okay, yes, what Hector does here is actually quite good. Just try to push him away to be able to draw your sword. Okay, yes. And then we have Achilles who just pushes him away. Okay, yes. Okay, so he falls away with his back towards Achilles, very bad position to be in. And then Achilles does this weird spin with the shield and comes into this guard. This guard is actually decent. Like, it's the whole fight should look like this in this kind of guard, and just playing around with the spear and the shield. This is actually really a decent guard. That is the first good guard that any of these characters have had. Good Achilles. Okay. Okay, so Hector throws away his broken spear. Okay, so when he is here, like, you have good time to see Achilles coming, and you have good time to see that he's going to attack you. So, what do? Well, you bring a shield in front of you. No, what he's doing is to have his shield completely to his side. Like, it literally behind here. Like, just have it in front of you, and you protect yourself, but no. Okay, so he slaps away Achilles' attack. Yes, again, no purpose in leaving yourself that open. Achilles comes in for yet another attack, which he also slaps away, again leaving himself way too open. If he just held his shield in front of him and just got it up and down and to the side to parry Achilles' attack, that would have been way better, but for some reason he's just like trying to swing it around. Like, look here, like he has a shield behind him. Like, what? Have your shield in front of you. Okay, so, and then he slaps, and then, yes, he basically takes his shield and pins Achilles' spear down to the ground. Yes, good. However, you could still have done this if you had your shield in front of you, and if Achilles went for low attack, then you could kind of pin it down to the ground. But trying to pin it down to the ground, yes, that's good. Okay, and then he used his leg to break that spear. If there was so much force behind that kick, or whatever I should call it, before breaking it, Achilles would lose it. So if he's holding it like this, if you have the force to break that shaft, Achilles wouldn't have the force to resist that attack and actually just lose his spear, and the spear wouldn't have gone broken, and that would have ended up in the same result. No point in having to break the spear. You could just literally have had Achilles lose it. That would have been way better. Okay, so then he draws his own sword and slashes at Achilles. Achilles did not have a shield in front of him, so he has to duck. Again, should have held your shield in front of you. So Hector draws his sword from his shield. Both of the characters here have their sword attached to the inside of the shield. In antiquity, historically, swords were sometimes attached to the inside of the shield. However, that was only done when carrying the sword for long distances, like if you're traveling. It was not done during combat because it just adds a ton of weight to a shield. So in reality, they should have had their swords in the belt. Okay, again, leaves himself completely open, Hector. The fact that Hector leaves himself completely open right now isn't too bad, considering that Achilles does not have a functioning weapon. So, kind of can excuse it, but again, should have held your shield in front of you. And no purpose for going for such a massive strike like this. And slashes, you can literally just go for small thrusts, and that would have been just as efficient. Okay, so he slashes straight at Achilles' shield. That would have most probably broken the sword, because it's a bronze sword, and it would either have bended it or potentially even broken it, but it would at least have dulled it a lot. Okay, and then he goes yet another time for a wide slash at Achilles' shield, again leaving himself completely open. He has his shield behind him. Again, should probably have broken his sword there, but Achilles draws his own sword and goes for a spin. Hector can now hit him in the back whenever he wants, or in the back of the head, or anything like that, but he doesn't. He just kind of stands there with his shield behind him. Okay, and then Achilles comes in for an attack, which Hector parries with his sword. So if you had two bronze swords coming in towards each other with that much force, they would probably break each other and cut into each other at least, and yeah, that wouldn't be good for the swords at all, and wouldn't be possible at all. Both of them have their shields behind them, both of them should hold their shield in front of them, but apparently they're not doing it. And if Hector had held his shield in front of him, he could have parried Achilles' sword with his shield and went for a thrust at Achilles with his sword. Then they go into a sort of bind, and Achilles kind of comes for a slash at Hector's head, which Hector dodges. Okay, sure. Again, should have held your shield in front of you. And then, right now, Hector can very easily go for an attack at the leg of Achilles, because Achilles is literally showing him his back, and not using his shield properly, neither of them are, but anyways. Achilles goes for a wide slash at Hector's head. Both of them are leaving themselves open, completely absurd, but now Hector goes for an attack at Achilles' leg, and Achilles lifts up his leg like this to parry the attack with his greave, which is good and it could work in reality, so yes, sure, definitely not a bad idea. Okay, so it's kind of weird because he lifts his foot here, but then his foot is at the ground, and Hector should just have hit a little bit higher up and it would have chopped off his leg. I don't know. Okay, and then Achilles goes for a shield bash at Hector's foot. It seems like Achilles is always trying to go for Hector's heel, which is weird. It should have been the opposite, but he should have went for shield bash at Hector's arm, shoulder, because right now he's exposing himself a lot, leaving his own arm very open to Hector's thrust, which Hector should go for a thrust straight at Achilles' head or arm. But he just retreats, Hector's completely open, and Achilles goes for a thrust at him. So Hector kind of ducks it and kind of parries it with his sword. Both of them are completely open all the time. It's absurd because you have to hold both your shield and your sword in front of you. And what I'm also noticing that the only attacks they're doing with their swords are slashes. Neither of them are going for thrusts, which in reality would be the kind of attack you do with such swords. Of course, you could do some slashes and cuts and stuff like that, but in reality there would be mostly thrusts. Because then Achilles kind of goes for an attack at Hector's shield. If he had just extended his sword a little bit further out, he could have chopped off Hector's head, but instead he goes for an attack at Hector's shield, which is kind of weird. Of course, he does this to slap away Hector's shield, but he should have killed him. Okay, so Hector is now open, which is most understandable because Achilles slapped away his shield. He goes in for a strike, massive strike at Achilles' shield, which would have broken the sword. Again, leaving himself completely open. Achilles can at any moment just go for a thrust and kill him. And it kind of does. Look at that attack. That is a massive attack straight at his shield, which would have definitely broken the point of that sword. And, I'm going to talk about the way Achilles holds his shield a little bit later, because he's going to do it for a long time. Okay, massive thrust straight at the shield, which would have broken the sword yet again. And it's so powerful that it literally just makes Hector fly away. If you had that much force behind your strike or your thrust, you would have broken your sword, especially if it's bronze sword. So anyways, Achilles kind of holds his shield in this kind of weird position. Clearly not something you want to do in reality. Of course, it's absurd. And he's going to hold this position for a long time. Clearly not something you want to do in reality, but you could say he's kind of I don't know, like taunting Hector or something, just showing her that, hey, I can kill you even with my shield on my back. Okay, maybe from a practical point of view, it is absolutely stupid. Okay, so Hector comes in with his shield and slaps away Achilles' sword. Okay, but why do you leave yourself that open with your shield? And why do you bring your sword with your shield? If you had just slapped away the attack with his shield, he could have followed up very fast with a thrust at Achilles. But for some reason, he held his sword in the same position as his shield and just leaves himself completely open. Okay, then he comes for kind of an underhand attack at Achilles with 3 blocks with this weird parry, like, okay. Again, absurd to hold your shield like that, but yeah, sure. Hector's completely open yet again. And then Achilles comes in for thrust, straight at Hector's shield. Again, would have broken his sword, and Hector would have broken his sword by attacking Achilles like that. Okay, so if Hector kind of goes into a sort of spin, if Achilles, from this position, he has his sword here. If he just brought his sword closer to Hector, he could have like chopped off his arm or something, but for some reason he doesn't. Next clip, he has his sword up here, ready to parry the attack that is behind here. Yeah, okay, Hector's completely open. This spin is absolutely stupid. Achilles can kill Hector at any point, but he's not doing it. Hector comes in for a massive strike at Achilles' sword. Both swords would be broken right there, and Hector's leaving himself completely open. Okay, so kind of both of them are kind of like, oh, okay, so well, it seems like Achilles just brings up his sword, uses the arm guard to kind of push up Hector's sword, which, you know, could work, yes, okay. And then, well, from this position here, he could just literally have just brought his sword down and chopped off Hector's arm, but instead he just winds us up massively to go for a massive thrust, which is completely necessary, and Hector blocks that. Again, Achilles would have broken his sword with this strike. Okay, then he comes around and thrusts that straight at the shield yet again. Again, he should have broken his sword. Okay, so he kind of comes down here, winds up massively, and comes for yet another thrust at Hector's shield. Again, should have broken his shield. And Hector now can very easily kill him by just thrusting straight forward. But instead he decides to like wind up. No point in doing that. He should literally just have brought his sword forward and killed Achilles, but not doing it. Okay, so here Achilles kind of brings up his greave again to parry that attack. And yes, this is quite good. Like Hector was trying to go for an attack at Achilles' thigh because that's a protected area, that's good. And Achilles brings up his greave to parry that attack. Yes, good, okay. However, Hector is leaving himself completely open. Of course, Achilles is leaving himself completely open at all time, but I've spoken about that position and it's stupid, but anyways. Okay, so then Achilles comes in for a sort of thrust slash-ish thing, which Hector ducks. Okay, should have used your shield, but anyways. Hector can at any point just thrust straight away and kill Achilles, and then both of them are winding up massively, and then we have Achilles here winding up massively. He's clearly wanting to go for a strike, but then when he comes up here, goes for an elbow like this. If he had just, instead of attacking him with his elbow like that, if he had just just extended his sword like this, he could have like chopped straight at Hector's head, but instead it goes for an elbow, which is completely absurd, because if you can hit your opponent with your sword, you hit him with your sword, not with your elbow. Anyways. And even like from this position here, he can just extend his sword and kill him, but he's not doing it. Then he does nothing. Okay, he brings his shield down, which is good. Clearly something he should have done way earlier. Then we have Hector, who comes Okay, so he just winds up a massive strike. Like it's so obvious where he's gonna hit, and he could have just went for a simple thrust. It would have been way more efficient. He's leaving himself completely open. Slashes down. Achilles ducks. Achilles, what are you doing? Like Achilles can literally at any point just extend his sword and thrust straight at Hector, but he's not doing it. Okay. Hector has his shield behind him, which is absurd. Still, Achilles can just extend his sword and kill Hector. Slashes across yet again. Again, Achilles can kill him at any point. And okay, he's running to the side and comes up for a sort of for a jump attack. Explained the problems with jump attack earlier. It's absolutely stupid, but comes in thrust, massive thrust at Hector's shield, breaking his sword yet again. He should have broken his sword yet again. Hector goes flying back. The strike was so powerful, yet his sword is not broken. Achilles goes down to this superhero stance, which is absurd, but anyways, he should have kept his shield in front of him. Like literally, if you have to change one thing in this fight, is keep your shield in front of you. That would have made the fight look way better. Okay, so Hector comes in for okay, so he comes in for like a massive strike. Again, he should have done just a thrust, but massive strike. Achilles brings up his shield to parry the attack. Hector should have broken his sword. Achilles can at any point just bring his sword forward to kill Hector because Hector is completely open. Okay, he kind of blocks it with his sword. Should not have blocked it with his sword because that's going to break his sword. Should just have brought his shield, which is over here, should just have brought it over to parry that attack, and with his sword here, just thrust it down at Hector because Hector is completely open. Okay, so he kind of brings his sword up. Both of them are completely open. Hector is literally standing with his face towards Achilles, like he's trying to get hit, it seems. Okay, he's managed to duck that attack. Hector can at any point just go for thrust at Achilles now, but he's not doing it. Okay. Achilles goes for thrust, goes for an attack, but like if you see here, his arm is here. Hector's already started to duck. If Hector's already started to duck, you don't continue with that angle of attack right here because you're not going to hit him. You go for another kind of attack. And then with Hector, which, okay, so Hector, at any point here, he could just have extended his sword and chopped off Achilles' leg, but he's not doing it. Instead, he winds up with this massive strike. Both of them are completely open, both of them can get hit at any point, but, okay, so it seems like Achilles kind of brought his shield over to parry. Should just have extended his sword right now to hit Hector, but he's not doing it, and Hector's completely open. Okay, so he brings his shield down like this. Again, right now, he can just thrust at Hector at any moment. Okay, he actually does that. But Hector kind of ducks away. Okay. Both of them are completely open. Hector can literally just bring his sword forward and chop off Achilles' leg, but he's not doing it. Yeah, I don't know. Slashes across. Okay, yes, okay. Okay, so he kind of slashes across and then comes in for thrust like this. Okay, again, straight at Hector's shield. Should have broken his sword. Okay, so look at the position in which Achilles is standing. He literally has his shield behind him like this and his sword behind him like this. He's like asking to get hit. Like, please hit me. Yeah, like, and Hector again does not have his shield in front of him, and he goes for a thrust. Okay, interesting. We'll see what happens. Okay, so Achilles kind of brings down his sword. He should have used his shield there instead and went for thrust with his sword, but he's not doing it. Hector is leaving himself completely open. Hector comes in for yet another slash. Misses because he's out of range, okay. And then hits Achilles in the breastplate. Of course, because Achilles is literally like trying to get it. It's like literally leaving himself completely open like this. Then we have Hector is completely open, and he should definitely have tried to go for Achilles' head or arm or even like legs or something, not for his breastplate, which is his most armored part. Now we could say he's out of range to hit the head, okay, fine. But anyways, he hits Achilles in the chest there, and Achilles just reverses back, looks down at his chest, and then we have Hector, who is open and who's not doing anything. Hector at any moment can just thrust forward and kill Achilles, but he's not doing it. And Achilles can thrust straight forward and kill Hector, but he is not doing anything either. Okay, they're just looking. Achilles just looking down at his breastplate like you're in the middle of a fight. You cannot take the time to look down at your breastplate. You need to focus on your opponent. And he looks up, and when he looks up, now Hector comes in, running. Like, you could have just extended your sword at any point and just killed him, but he's waiting for him to look up and then charges in. Okay. Comes running in, completely open. Okay, so he kind of thrusts in there. So Achilles kind of goes to the side to make him thrust under his armpit and kind of blocks the sword there. Okay. Hector's completely open. If Achilles had just extended his sword, he could have stabbed him and killed him, but he didn't do that. Okay, so... Okay, wait a minute. Look at where Achilles' sword is. Achilles' sword is here. Like, at any point, if he just went for drawcut, he could have chopped off Hector's arm right here and killed him, but he's not doing it. Anyways, he's kind of reversing and then kind of like pushing his shield up like that. Okay, yes, that could work. Could work again, just to use a sword to chop off his arm, but it could work do like this. Hector has his shield over here, like bring your shield over to protect you. Now this move from Achilles is not too bad because he's wearing armor and will be protecting the sword. However, it's just a little bit kind of weird and he should have just chopped off his arm. Then... Okay, so, like, from the point here, like, he just pauses down here and then goes for thrust. He shouldn't have paused, he should just have gone straight for thrust. Okay, so Hector parries that thrust. Again, Achilles' sword should have been broken. It's bronze. Bronze is soft. It should have been broken. And then Hector's sword is kind of released. Hector can chop either down or up to chop off either Achilles' leg or arm. You could say he's kind of being pushed away, so you can't do that. Okay, sure. Okay, so now, now Hector can just bring up your sword and chop off his shield arm. And then we have Achilles' sword, which is here. We're gonna just bring it down and chop off his arm. Okay. And then it kicks his shield. Okay, like, yeah, sure. However, either bring your sword down to chop off his arm, or thrust down at his neck here. Instead of trying to kick him. Okay, yeah, sure, but he could have done so much better things. Hector stumbles on a rock and falls away. And he loses his shield. Okay, that's not unrealistic. And he crawls away. Like, the first thing you should try to pick up again is his shield. Because Achilles is not even trying to attack him at this point. He's just telling him to get up. So Achilles could have attacked him now pretty easily and killed him, but of course he's not doing it because well, he wants to fight equal terms and everything. I think that's fine, but Hector, pick up your shield, not that broken spearhead. Okay, and Achilles throws away his shield. Of course, from a practical point of view, this is absurd. Definitely not something he should have done. However, yes, he just wanted to fight some equal terms and stuff. Okay. Not too bad. Picks up that broken spear. Okay, so now neither of them have a shield. Hector comes in. He has his sword behind here to go for an attack. Like, okay, very weird. Okay, so Achilles ducks. Achilles can at any point just bring his sword in towards Hector and stab him and kill him. Again, like, the only attacks they're doing with the swords are slashes. It should be 90% thrusts, but yeah, anyways. Okay, comes in from under yet again. Like, look at where Achilles' sword is here. He could literally just extend it out here and chop off Hector's leg. Okay. Okay, so if you see the elevation at which Hector's strike was, it was kind of here. Achilles ducked it, and then he comes in with his spearhead, or broken spear, at the same elevation. Like, Achilles is already ducking. Like, why are you trying to go that far up? You should go at least down here. Then you have Achilles does this weird. I guess it's kind of hard to see, but he goes for sort of spin while he's on his knees or something. Okay, very strange. Definitely not something you'd want in reality, but he's doing it. Okay, so he comes in. Okay, so actually cuts at Hector's leg. Okay, yes. So the cut is right here, right above these pieces of metal. So yeah, that would have gone through that cloth and actually hurt him. Okay. Yeah, wait a minute. So Achilles still has his sword down there. He should just have brought it forward, but then Hector kind of slaps it away with his own sword. The way he's fighting now is absolutely stupid, because he's just going for this massive strike with both his weapons. When you're fighting with two weapons, because he has two weapons, he has a sword and a broken spearhead, you kind of just want to use one of them. Now you should probably use the spear to parry. And then your other sword, you're using it to attack. Instead of just going for wild attack with both of them, which is completely unnecessary and completely absurd and wouldn't work. Okay, so Hector can go for a spin. Okay, Achilles can at any moment here just stab him in the back and kill him. Hector comes in for an attack here. Okay, so kind of Achilles kind of ducks away. Achilles has his sword behind him, like it should be in front of him to attack Hector. Hector comes in with his other weapon. Okay, so can someone explain it? Like, okay, so Hector is coming here. Achilles is trying to parry. When they are parrying here, Hector's sword is already past Achilles' leg. So why is Achilles trying to parry that? Instead, he should have just gone a little bit higher up and chopped off his arm. Okay, Hector comes in for a strike. Achilles can just bring his sword forward and chop off Hector's arm. They're parrying. Both of them would break the swords right now. Then cuts to the next clip. Okay, so it seems like Achilles kind of using his arm guard. Okay, so not too bad. It's hard to see exactly what they're doing, but it seems like Achilles is using his arm guard to control that sword, to free his own sword to be able to attack with that. That, yeah, definitely something he could do. Definitely, yeah, sure, that's good. However, he should just have been a little bit faster with his sword, instead of just retreating this much to go for an attack. Hector has two weapons. Both of them can be used to stab at Achilles right now, but instead he decides to do nothing with them and just ducks away. This spear can just go straight down on Achilles' leg. No, he's not doing anything with it. Because now he uses his sword go up here. Achilles kind of brings up his leg. With such a low attack from Hector, there's no purpose in bringing up your leg. And you literally just stand there and use a grief to protect you. Hector should have gone higher up, and then that kind of bring your foot away would be good. Now it's just use your grief to protect you. And then Hector just falls away. I think okay, so when he's doing this, Achilles' sword is here. He can slash at the back of Hector's head or anything like that and kill him, but he just doesn't do anything. Okay, kind of separating. Okay, and now Hector's comes running in. Running into a fight is absolutely stupid, because you need to be controlled when you're fighting. So you're just running in, absolutely stupid. Comes for a wide strike with his sword. Achilles, you can just bring his sword forward and kill him, and Hector with his spear can just bring that forward to kill Achilles. So neither of them doing anything. Okay, so Achilles kind of brings up his sword for a stab, which misses. Okay, go at range, and then Hector parries it, and then comes. No, okay, so I thought he was going to come in with his spear, but what is he doing with his spear? He's just kind of bringing down his spear. He could have used his spear to like slash at Achilles' face or something. It wouldn't necessarily have done a lot of damage because only a spear had use of slashing, but he could have done something with it, and it would have been better than nothing. Okay, see that would. Okay, so kind of. I can't really say what he does because he's like down there. Okay, so it actually seems like he brings it up. Achilles ducks it. So Hector, the way he's fighting is that he has one weapon in front of him at the time. You should have kept both of your weapons in front of you and used one for parry, one for thrusting and stuff like that. This is absurd. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Hector brings both his weapons in for thrust, and Achilles seems to parry them. Okay, why do you use both of your weapons in the same attack? Then you need only one parry to parry both. If he had gone for two different attacks, like a low thrust and a high thrust, for example, Achilles couldn't have parried both of them and would need to dodge one of them or potentially get hit. Okay, kind of slaps away Achilles' attack there. Goes in for Y strike. Okay, so right now, look at the angle. He's slashing over here. Achilles over here. Why are you trying to attack over here? There's no purpose in it. Absurd. And you can literally just use your spear to stab in his thigh, but he's not doing it. Okay, so Achilles slashes across here. Both of Hector's weapons could be used to attack Achilles' legs, but he's not doing anything. Okay, so now after that slash, he kind of brings down his sword. If his sword is here, if you just extend it a little bit further, he could have cut off Hector's head. And look at the position of Hector. It's like tumbling forward. Yeah. Okay, so he brings up his sword again. Hector's not doing anything. He's just tumbling forward, which is absurd. And then Achilles, your sword is right here. He could have just thrust the neck of Hector or something, but instead he reversed his sword and used his hand to stop Hector. Like, Hector's just tumbling forward, just extend your sword and you'll kill him, but no. Instead he decides to just push him over with his hand. Absurd. Okay, so now he thrusts with his spearhead. Achilles can use his sword to chop off Hector's leg, and Hector has his sword wave to fall behind him. And then, okay, so he kind of, okay, this is not too bad. He brings his arm up here to make Hector lose that spear. Okay, yes, okay, sure. However, what is Hector doing with his sword? Like trying to slash over here when Achilles is here. That can't work. Slashes across there. And then we have Achilles, which is down here. He can just extend his sword at any moment to chop off his leg. Instead, he doesn't do anything. Whites up a massive strike. Because that he doesn't extend his sword, so he doesn't hit. Comes in with the spear. He's out of range. He's out of range. I had to kind of just reverses. Comes in a kind of rolling spin and attacks with his sword. There's some kind of loud sound there. I don't know if that sound there is him hitting the armor or him just that sound there. I don't know if it's him hitting the armor or if it's just the noise of the sword going through the air. I don't know. In any case, he's not penetrating the armor that good. Then he kind of it seems like kind of throws the spear straight into Hector like this, If you just go, okay, so like Hector has some kind of weird like coat of plate armor where he has different plates stitched to a or riveted to something. I don't exactly this armor is not historical. I would say it's some sort of coat of plate, but coat of plate's a medieval kind of armor, so that wouldn't exist in the period. But he has these plates here, right? And the spear here has just penetrated through one of these plates. Like the whole spear just gone through one of those plates. Never would have happened in reality, especially because it's a bronze spear. Okay, so Achilles now is ready to thrust him, and Hector is obviously completely open. Okay, well, let's see what he does. Hector is like complete. Okay, so Hector is completely open. You can choose wherever you want to hit him. And look at where he thrusts it. It's like straight in the arm. Like, look at. He literally just thrust him straight in the armor. Like, his neck was open. You could have thrust him straight in the neck. That would have been same effect. Looked just as cool, but would have been way more realistic. Now he just spears straight the armor. Why is Hector wearing that armor? Like, the spear penetrates and now the sword penetrates with ease. Like, why is Hector wearing that armor? It's absolutely stupid. Okay, so that's basically the whole fight. Basically, the fight was completely absurd. If one thing was to be changed, it's hold your shield in front of you. Like, just you need to hold your shield in front of you when you're fighting with a shield and a sword. Then, of course, just so many missed opportunities to kill your opponent. These guys should have been, both of them should have been killed after 2 seconds of fight, basically. But yeah. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it, and well, I'll see you for the next one.